Jai Hind everyone. My name is Ritu Sharma. I am teaching in AKGEC in CS department as an assistant professor. So today's topic for this lecture is inheritance in Java. So before moving to inheritance in Java, let's understand that from where inheritance comes. Alright. So if I'll say that there are four principles of OOPS concept. So now the question arises, what are the OOPS concept? So well, in the previous lecture we must have already studied that OOPS concept is object oriented programming, which includes the four major features, that are encapsulation, inheritance, abstraction, polymorphism. So when we talk about encapsulation, it is known for the data security, that how all the data and the code is wrapped up in your particular code or in your program. Whereas when we talk about inheritance and polymorphism, it is known for your code reusability. And when we talk about abstraction, it says that it hides the complexity. Now the question arises that how it hides the complexity. So the answer is that it only shows the major things by name. Suppose there is a method, so we will only declare the method, we won't define the method. So it's hiding the functionality of that particular method. So it is how abstraction is done. So now let's come to the topic, that is inheritance. So inheritance is known as your code reusability, that how that code is once right and we can use that code again and again, that how we can read that. So when we talk about inheritance, so inheritance is mechanism in which one object acquires all the properties and the behavior of a parent object. So when we talk about parent and child, there is a concept of inheritance. So whatever the properties parent is having, so maybe the child can obviously inherit all the properties which parent is having. So we can say that inheritance is a relationship, or it is also known as the parent child relationship, which I told earlier. So when we are talking about is a relationship, what is a relationship? So is a relationship is like that banana is a fruit. So fruit is a parent, whereas child is the banana in this fruit hierarchy. So for syntax for Java inheritance is, we'll say that class we'll write the class keyword, then subclass name, whatever class we are writing, that is subclass name is your, just a sec. Subclass is also known as your child. Fine. So subclass name extends superclass name, which means that class child extends class parent. Alright, and into that class we'll write all the methods and the fields which we'll be using in that. So this is the basic syntax for the Java inheritance. So terms we are using in inheritance are the first is class, subclass, superclass, and the reusability. So when we are talking about a class, it is a group of objects which have a common properties. So whenever the common properties objects are there, so it is known as a class, or we can say a class is a blueprint where we can create the objects. Okay, now let's see to the concept of subclass and child class. Subclass is a class which inherits the other class, whereas like child is inheriting the parent property. Same. Now third is superclass, which is your parent class. Super is the class from where a class inherits the features. So what it is, the parent is having a features which are inherited by a superclass. Okay, sorry, which are inherited by your subclass. Next is your reusability. As the name specifies, the reusability is like we are reusing the fields and the methods of a particular existing class to the other class. Like suppose there is a method in a parent class, we are using that same method into the subclass. Okay, so why we use the inheritance in Java? So the very first is method overriding and code reusability. So in the first slide we have already studied that polymorphism and inheritance both are used for code reusability, where we can use the code again and again with the different changes, we can say, right? Polymorphism part we have already started. Now we are starting for the inheritance. So when we talk about polymorphisms, there is a two types of polymorphism: runtime polymorphism and the compile time polymorphism. So when we are talking about the runtime polymorphism, there is a that is known as your method overriding. So method overriding can be done when inheritance is there, else it can't be achieved. How? Because method overriding is like there is already existing method which we are defining again. So we are overriding that previous method which is already defined. So we can do this in inheritance, how that already parent is having a method and we are redefining that method in a child class or a subclass, so that particular child can respond to that method according to their achievements, or I can say according to their requirements. Now let's come to the inheritance. So basically there are 5 types of inheritance: single, multi-level, hierarchical, multiple and the hybrid inheritance. So first is your single inheritance. Fine. So when we talk about single inheritance, it is damn easy to understand. When a class extends another class, then we can say that it is a single inheritance. So it is very simple that there is a parent class we are having. Suppose class A is a parent class, fine, and class B is your child class, or I can say this is the super class and this is the subclass. Okay, so what we are doing over here, class B is extending class A, fine. A class is extending another class, so it is only a single inheritance. All right, so whatever method is in class A will be inherited in method B. Okay, for example, in this I am having a class A, that is class A, where I am defining a method A in which I am printing that it is a base class method. So whenever we are talking about base, super, parent, they all are considered as one. Fine. So always remember that whatever it is base, it is super or it is parent. Okay. So that is a super class I have created in which I have defined method A, and there is a we are printing base class method. Now I am creating a subclass, that is class B, which is extending a parent class, that is A, and here I am again defining and declaring another method, that is method B, where I am saying that it is a child class, or I can say subclass, or I can say derived class. Fine. So whenever we are talking about base, it will be known as derived. Whenever we are calling of super, it will be a subclass, and whenever we are talking about parent, it will be considered as your child class. Okay. So what I am saying, in method B I am printing child class method. So after writing the main statement, or we can create another class where that will be considered as main class, and we are creating object for your child class, right? So I have created object for child class, that is B, and now I am calling both the methods which are into your parent class and as well as your child class. Okay. So how we are calling? Object name dot method. Method A is calling your super class method, whereas method B will be calling your local method, or we can say your subclass method. Or I can take a real life example. We can say that animal is a class where there is a method called eat, which is representing eating, and there is another class dog which extends the animal class. So it is by default that eat method will by default inherit into the dog class, whereas dog is already having another method called bark. So dog will be barking, and the another property it is having from with the inheritance, that is eating. So likewise we created a test inheritance, and I have created the object for dog class, and then I am calling both the methods. So what the output will be coming? Output will be eating and barking. Fine. Now let's say next is your multi-level inheritance. Fine. So what is multi-level inheritance? In single level there is only a one step, I'll say, and in multi-level there can be a multi-level steps. For example, there is a superclass, then there is another subclass 1 which is extending the superclass, and third is subclass 2 which is extending class 1. So it is level 1, it is level 2. Alright. So we can say that it refers to the mechanism where one can inherit from a derived class. Okay. So what we are doing? See, this is the derived class, and here we are inheriting from the derived class. So we can say this is called your chain series, or we can say chain for the inheritance as well. Fine. So likewise for this example, we have created a class A, that will be your superclass. Fine. Then in this we have created method X, class X method will be printed. Okay. Now what I am doing here? Class Y extends X, that is class Y is a derived class and X is your superclass. X is super, Y is derived. Fine. Then in derived class there is also a method that is Y, and it is printing class Y method. And the third class I have created, that is X, and Y क्या है हमारा यहाँ? That is your derived class, or I can say subclass 1. Okay. And X is inheriting this, X is inheriting what? Derived class. Okay. So that's how the multi-level inheritance works. So there is again a method Z which is printing the class Z method. So now what I have done? I have created the object for Z class, which is at the level 2. This is for your level 2, which we have already discussed that this is the level 2. Fine. So I am creating object for this level 2 class, and what I am doing? Then I am calling from all the methods with that particular object for level 2 class. Fine. So all the objects can be called, and what will be the printing? What will be the output come? Class X method, class Y method, class Z method. Fine. So all the three methods can inherit, as it is known as your multi-level inheritance. So how we can say? It's a hierarchy of like grandparent, then parent, and then local method or a child parent, we can say. So that's how the multi-level inheritance works. So when we talk about the real life, in the earlier example I was showing the single inheritance only. Now over here what I have done? I have created a class animal where there is a method eat. Dog is extending animal, where the method is bark, whereas baby dog is also a class which is extending the dog, that is a parent for the baby doll, okay, and the method is weep. So now I have created, what I have done, I have created the object for the baby dog class, okay, with the object name your D. With that particular object name of the your baby dog class, I'll calling out all the three methods. So what will be the output coming? Weeping, barking, eating. Fine. I hope you guys are understanding. Next, now let's get to the third type of inheritance, that is your hierarchical inheritance. So when two or more class inherits a single class, it is known as your hierarchical inheritance. Like in this example, I have shown that there is a class A, which is obviously your superclass, and there is class B and class C. Both are inheriting the same class, class A, which we can be do, right? And how we can achieve this? See, let's see the example. There is a class A where I have defined and declared the method A. Then class B is extending A, okay, and in class B there is, again I am declaring and defining method B, and in class C extends A. So what we have done, there is B and C extending the same class, okay. So that is known as your hierarchical inheritance. Fine. In class C also we have defined and declared, that is your method C. Now we'll talk about that class D also extends class A. So what I have done, that there is a possibility that there are more than two classes which are extending the same base class, okay. So when we are talking about same base class, definitely we can do this in Java, it will be more easier. Now what I have done, whichever class is extending that particular A class, I'll create the objects for all of them. Suppose in this example, I have created the object for class B, class C and class D, because all three are extending a same class and we cannot achieve all the methods as an output by just creating in a one class. So all classes can access the method of A, correct? So class B, class C and class D can access all the methods which are there in class A, and we can call out by the object name dot the method name that is in your class A, okay. Now let's see the example what I have done over here. Same example we are talking so that it can get into your head that it is how it is working and how you can do in your projects, how you can use inheritance and what type of inheritance you can allow to your program code, so that the complexity and the program gets easier and it's easy for you to work on to understand the inheritance properties in your project and how the code works in that. So let's see what I have done over here. There is a class animal, it is having a eat method, dog extends, it is having a method for bark. Now there is another class that is cat. So what we have done in the multi-level, there was a chain of the grandparent, parent and child. What at the chain was there? Animal, dog and the baby dog, correct? So with the baby dog objects we can access all the methods which are in their derived class and the superclass we were having. And what is the difference over here? What we are doing here? There is a different types of we can say subclasses which are extending the same class. For example, animal is there, dog is extending the animal, and likewise cat can also extend the animal, and other animals names we can extend it. Right? So cat is having a method that is called meow. Okay? So what we have done? We have created a object for cat only. Okay? We have all created a object for cat class only, and then we are calling c dot meow and c dot eat. So what will be the output for this? Meow and eating. Right? Now at the sixth point, it's in comment, that is c dot bark. Right? Now when we will remove this comment and we'll try to run this c dot bark, it will show you the compile time error, as bark is not your method of either animal class or cat class. Because when you are creating the object for cat class, and the cat class is only extending the animal class, it is not extending the dog class. So when you are running c dot bark, it won't be running, and it will be showing the compile time error. So for running the c dot bark, what you have to do? We have to create the object for dog class, like dog d equals to new dog, and then I can say that d dot bark and d dot eat. So that's how you can make it run, that bark method which is in your dog class, but else you can't run it by calling it with the object of another class, because that is not extending the dog class, it is only extending the animal class, which is the super class, or we can say which is the grandparent class for all the animals like dog, cat, etc. So now let's see what is the inheritance, or I'll say what is multiple inheritance. So multiple inheritance is a concept which is saying that a class extending the base class, but it is extending more than two classes. Suppose I'll say these are the base classes, class 1 and class 2, these are the two base classes, and there is a derived class and it is inheriting both the base classes. Is it possible? No. Java doesn't support multiple inheritance. Okay, as we have already learned that there is a concept of one base class. Okay, inheritance is a concept of one base class. There is a problem with multiple inheritance, as derived class will have to manage the dependencies on the two base class. So this class needs to manage the dependency of this and this. So this is the major issue we can say, or will say that Java simplifies this and don't support the multiple inheritance. Let's understand why Java don't support in term of multiple inheritance. So how we say? We can say that it increases the complexity. Multiple inheritance is increasing the complexity. So How it is increasing? Like there is a dependencies for two classes, that is class A and class B. So it is increasing the complexity. So Java is not at all supporting the multiple inheritance, whereas we can achieve it by interface, which we will be learning in your next lecture. Last topic of the presentation, or we can say in this lecture, is the hybrid inheritance. So hybrid inheritance is a combination of two inheritances like single, multiple, multi-level hierarchy, hierarchical single, or multiple or multi-level. But last is not possible because multiple inheritance Java is not supporting. So I hope you guys understand this. Thank you.